just sitting here listening to the rain. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's kind of nice. This video, I just wanted to talk about depression. I have it. I'll say it's not as bad as my anxiety, but it's definitely there. And for me, it's usually a result of my anxiety, like afterwards. It's a feeling I get when all of the energy from being anxious kind of just subsides and I'm just left with nothing, zero energy. Literally the definition of depressed, right? Pushed down, like I'm just squashed basically. And it's a really scary feeling. I would say in general, I have like a pretty low level of depression, like all the time, even when I'm feeling quote unquote good. And I think depression is getting less, it's getting more, less stigmatized than it used to be, especially back when I was in high school 15 years ago. But people are starting to realize being depressed doesn't necessarily mean you're sad or you're crying or you're angry or pouting. It can literally be just a lack of feeling, a lack of emotion, a numb feeling. No excitement, no sadness, just nothing. Apathetic. And I notice that is kind of like my baseline. Of course I care about things and things get me excited, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get me going in my day-to-day life. But there is sometimes, maybe like once or twice a year, where I get into this depression, a deep depression, where it's usually on the tail end of being anxious, and it sucks. It's the worst feeling in the world. It's like, it's hard to describe. You don't want to get out of bed. Talking can be hard. Socializing in general is hard. Eating. Sleeping can either be really easy or really hard. And just general everyday tasks. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy to someone, especially if you're not experiencing it. Brushing your teeth, fixing your hair, doing your laundry, making your bed. Just general, normal things seem impossible almost. And it's so hard, especially when you're in it. It kind of feels like, and that's one of the tricks that depression, anxiety, any mental health issue can play on your mind, is that it'll tell you we're never getting out of this. This is going to be the rest of your life. And that is one of the scariest thoughts you can have. It's one of the darkest feelings to experience, is this is the rest of my life. This will never end. And unfortunately, fortunately, however you want to look at it, the more you experience these things over years, the easier it is to pull yourself out, because you realize it doesn't last forever. This is temporary and it can get better. And sometimes I forget what it feels like. Like, I'm on the other side now, but I know damn well I wouldn't be making this video if I was still in that depression. I've never had both of them at the same time. Of course, I have my low levels of anxiety about normal stuff, but I'm not like actively super anxious, when I'm depressed. It's usually one or the other. And, one of the ways that I know that I'm not doing well, or that I might be depressed or on my way towards being in a full depression is if I'm not singing, honestly, if I'm not like humming to myself or singing in the shower, in the car, or even listening to music. Sometimes I won't even listen to music, when I'm doing things, and that's how I know that my mind is so occupied by something else. I can't even be bothered to think about doing something for fun, like listening to music or, there's other things like I'll eat more, I'll overeat junk food. You don't really care too much about the future, right? You're just trying to feel better. And it can be so daunting to crawl out of that hole. It sucks. It's terrifying. But it does get better. It is manageable for me. I know people can relate in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that and, how you guys work to get out of your depression. What is helpful for you when you feel like there's no light at the end of that tunnel? Or even if you know there is a light at the end of the tunnel and you still are just like, I don't want to go through this right now. I don't want to do this again. I've done this so many times and it's just too much. I've talked to a therapist about, like, they always ask if you want to, and I don't want to get demonetized here, but end it all, sort of. And usually the answer is no, I love life, but not living this way. This is just not, I don't want to keep doing this. This is not fun. This is not what I signed up for, And it brings back a lot of thoughts, it's you wonder where your depression came from, where your anxiety came from, where all the mental illness came from in general. I lived a perfect life, I like to think, growing up. Maybe not perfect, but nothing big enough to cause these issues. So then I think, like, well, it must be my genetics. And then I think, well, why do I deserve this? I start to have really dark thoughts about, like, resentment towards not my parents in particular, but just like the illness that was just put on me, just purely based off of genetics, and I'm terrified to pass that on to someone else. That scares me. I can't imagine a child feeling the way that I feel on the daily. Especially my own, and I've been through it. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And I'm not here to exaggerate. There are some good days. There's a lot of days that are manageable, that just pass by. And nothing really bad happens, nothing super good happens, but you make it through and it's bearable. And those are the days when you're deep in that depression that you really strive to get back to. You're like, if I could just feel that way, I would be okay. And that's where I feel right now. I'm not necessarily thriving. And there's other reasons we'll get into on this channel. And I want to do a whole host of other topics that I just feel like I'm so knowledgeable about. Not even like, I'm not like clinically knowledgeable, but just through experience, I know I have a lot of feelings and I've thought so much and so deeply about so many things that I want to share with the world, and hopefully it can help open people's eyes. But today's talk is about depression, and I just wanted to share my experience, and then I've recently come out of one, so yeah, that feeling when it hits is just, it's familiar, and it's terrifying. So if you guys can relate, leave a comment below. I'll see you very soon. Let me know what topic you want to talk about next.